Ashe, and welcome to this conference, Detangling Our Roots, One Lock at a Time. I have to be honest, dreaming up this process, this program was an absolute wonderland. Being able to engage and bring in Black women from across the country, being able to engage with my friends from all over the world has been an absolute dream. And so thank you so much for joining us this evening as we start off this entire weekend to celebrate Black women, civic engagement, and everything that we are and everything that we can be. Now, as part of the people that I love and the people that I've met on my journey, I have a phenomenal co-host. I took a little bit of a trip that we'll talk about soon. And when I landed in Alabama, I was graced with her presence. So I want to introduce you to my dear friend, Keerson, from Highly Entertaining with Keerson and Megan.
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here and to experience this lovely weekend with everybody. Oh, it's so exciting. And hi from Birmingham, Alabama.
Birmingham, Alabama. Woo woo. All right. I want to let everybody know exactly how I got to know Keerson and Megan. So, this is being brought to you in collaboration with Citizen She United, 4910 Rosalie Productions, and Detangled. And at that time, at the end of the election cycle in 2020, we had the audacious idea to do a road trip across the South and tell the story of Black women civic engagement and the history of that. And part of that journey landed us in Birmingham, Alabama. And I called my baby brother, Travis Coleman. And Travis has a baseball facility in Birmingham. And I said, what Black women friends do you have that are amazing? And he's like, oh, I got a ton. And he sent us Keerson and Megan. And Keerson, from the moment you all walked in, it was on fire. Can you tell everybody who you are and what is Highly Entertaining with Keerson and Megan?
Yes. So a few years ago, me and my college best friend, Megan, we were talking and we were shooting the breeze and we were just like, everyone keeps telling us like, y'all are funny. Y'all should have a podcast. Like y'all should be on TV. And so one day, she's a working actress. I'm a young professional and we live together and we decided, we're roommates. We have nothing to do on a Saturday. Let's start a podcast. And so luckily I had a blue microphone and we all sat together around this one microphone and we just talked about pop culture and politics. And one thing that is like our core values is just bringing light to Black women, bringing light to our issues. So a lot of our topics of the week, as much as they're fun and we want to talk about like relationships, like we really do hone in on issues that Black women go through and really boosting up Black women in Birmingham and across the country. Next month, we're actually going to have a local Birmingham artist. We're going to have some activists on the show. So we're super excited. And again, I'm just so happy to be here.
I love it. And there was like a couple of questions I asked y'all on the fly. I'm like, okay, you got a podcast. You're funny as heck. Give it to me. And y'all gave it to me. And I appreciate it every second that I got to have with y'all. Okay, so Keerson, that particular project was really special to us because we were telling the story of Black women civic engagement in throughout the South. Birmingham being, what is it like? What are politics like in Birmingham? I know what they're like in Louisiana. We're going to talk a whole lot about Louisiana while we're here. But tell us, what is it like in Birmingham?
It's wild. There's so much happening. Like we elected a really young Mayor Woodfin a couple years ago, and seeing the changes and the so much good that has happened in Birmingham. I moved to Birmingham 7-ish years ago, and from a small town in Phoenix City, Alabama, and to see where it was when I got here to where it is now, The businesses is booming. I mean, we have the World Games coming up in June.
Do you?
Yes, Birmingham. We are the first American city to host the World Games in I think like 40, 50 years. Like it's been such a long time. So the excitement right now around town is so amazing.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So of all the games, what is the one that you're most looking forward to see?
Breakdancing.
Shut the front door. Wait, that's a competition.
It is a sport in breakdancing. And first of all, I think I can pop and lock just a little bit, but to see the professionals do it, I'm so excited. Like I'm gonna volunteer so I can like sneak in. I do want to see sumo wrestling too. I want to see the women's sumo wrestling. That seems interesting, fun. Ooh, it's exciting.
Okay, so we gonna live in the fact that there's a thing called female sumo wrestling. I love it. So speaking of that project that we met on, Detangling the South, want to remind everybody tonight, you get to see the first episode. Ooh. New Orleans. I tell you, the crazy thing, Keerson, is that project started off with my desire just to have a bunch of Facebook Lives. I'm like, if we take a van and go across the South in these historic places, telling Black women and discussing them, it'll help them show up to vote, won't it? And my amazing partner, Damien, was like, nah, actually, this should be a movie. And then next thing you know, we have a 5-part docuseries. And so we have a story, a film about each city. And as I'm watching this process, because this was 2020, so now we're in 2022, watching the process of this get developed, I've been more and more excited every moment. I finally saw the first episode last night. And I was like, we have not told this story like this. Tonight, they're going to get to see, Keerson, the story of Leah Chase, who, a lot of people don't know, Princess and the Frog is about Leah Chase, right? Incredible Black woman who a lot of people know as a chef in our city, right? But she was so much more. She fed the movement, right? Obama eats at Dookie Chase restaurant when he comes to the city. And she even checked him on how to eat gumbo, which is in the film too. And so we're going to give New Orleans and the rest of the world the opportunity to see the very first episode, the New Orleans edition. So I want you all to kind of get a little taste, of what they're going to get this evening. So I think we're going to show the trailer, just so that y'all can get a little idea what's coming at you this evening when you all tune in to the first episode.
We ask right now for justice in this year. We ask right now for justice at the polls. May there be no more divisions. May there be no more annihilation of people. May there be no more killing of Black people.
Meet Neil Weeks and her friend Faye Matthews. They're two lawyers on a journey to detangle voting rights, past, present, and future in the South.
See you on the journey.
We're standing in front of the 16th Street Baptist Church.
Here we are biking to the polls.
My mother was here on Bloody Sunday. They proceeded on this bridge.
Martin Luther King Jr. born in this house.
My mother, she understood institutional building
And how it impacts everybody's life.
It's important for us to ensure that the players who are part of that system care about our issues.
We know, as attorneys doing constitutional law, when We the People was written, we wasn't people.
Black Lives Matter, you guys.
When it comes to civil rights, we've had our hands tied into the fabrics of it for hundreds of years already.
The Democratic Party has had a disconnect.
I've run into kids that say, I'm not about that life. I don't want to vote.
What led me to run for office was this aha moment.
Little kids run to me saying, you're mayor. And I say to them, you can be also.
Voting is where we get to actually speak for ourselves.
Yeah. And if our votes didn't matter, they wouldn't try to suppress
us. They wouldn't try to stop it.
They are really scared of what we can become.
The movement takes time. Their dream was for us to participate in this country, whether the country wants us here or not.
Detangling the South, coming soon.
little taste of what's coming at you. You know,
that looks so good.
Yeah, let me tell you, Keerson, like each phase of watching this thing become, it's like when I have 4 children, so I know what it's like to grow a human being inside your body. So this was similarly situated, right? As we're watching this thing become a thing, a person and a living being, it was exciting to watch each phase, exciting to watch each story told. You saw yourself in there,
I did.
You're looking bomb, girl. But this reality is that we live in a country and we live in a world that, did not expect for us to move like this. I say it all the time with my students that I teach. When We the People was written, we weren't people.
We were
They
not.
We were not included in that. We were, and we're still not completely included.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to start off and set the tone that we were not. That the Constitution allows for discrimination against anybody who is not a part of the hegemonic culture, right?
Yes.
Listen, I know that as a legal scholar, right? But what does that feel like, that knowledge, right? What does that experience feel like, even when you don't have that legal knowledge? You're like, no, this box ain't for me. I think this person belongs to somebody else.
It's crazy because growing up, we're always taught, especially, in school, pledge allegiance to the flag, the Constitution is for everybody. And then the more that we learn about this country's history and we realize it's not for us, it's not for me. I'm a double minority. I'm African American. I'm a woman. To think how hard we as people had to fight just to get crumbs. We're just asking for a seat at the table. We're not asking to take over. We just want a seat. We just want to be present. So, the Constitution, I feel like it should be rewritten every couple of years because we grow, we evolve. This country has grown and evolved, to see the first African-American president, to see the first African-American vice president woman, we need to be there. We need to be present and here.
That's right. Yeah. And I'm so glad you said that, Keerson, about us being present and here, because I think that there's so much fatigue out there battling through spaces that just don't want you there. If I hear somebody's having a party, I want to go. You know what I'm saying? I want to go with the free food and the drinks, the party. You know what I'm saying? I want to rock out. But if I'm not invited, right, I'm not gonna bang my head against the wall to get an invitation. I might throw my own party. I'm not gonna keep banging my head on the wall. And if I'm dangled though a carrot and saying, well, you can get invited if you wear a green shirt tomorrow. Okay, I wear my green shirt. I show up and okay, I see your green shirt, but you also got to wear blue pants. All right, I wear my green shirt and my blue pants. All right, showed up. But could you fix your hair? All right, green shirt, blue pants, fix my hair. Do I get an invitation to the party now?
It's constantly moving the goalpost for us.
Exactly.
It's get an education. Okay, we've gotten an education. Then it's you have to have a master's. Then it's your name is too long or your name is too ethnic. We can't get your foot in the door. Or it's you have locks or you wear your natural hair. It's always something that pushes the goalpost further and further and further away from us.
That's right. Yeah. And when the goalpost is pushed further, you have to run harder and faster.
Yes.
And we always run, Keerson. We always run. We lace up our shoes. We change our shoes. We put on the right socks. You know what I'm saying? I put on the right bra because, the girls are tight. We do everything. And at some point, we're like, you know what? My legs are tired.
Yeah.
And I want to sit down.
These past 2 years have just been so fatiguing, so draining, but it's great that we have events like this where we get to build each other up. We get to build back up this gusto, put the fire back up under us. I feel like with COVID and everything, we weren't able to really communicate and be one with each other. And so it's so great to like have events like this, and you know, to be able to kind of build your tribe back up.
No.
Build a tribe of women.
we got to build a tribe of women, you know? And, you know, one of the things, you know, Keerson, that I also recognize when we talk about fatigue, when we talk about releasing up the boots, when we talk about moving up the goalposts, is that people have the right to feel tired.
Yeah.
People have the right to not want to engage and be like, nah, I'm done with the BS. Like, you know, F it. You know, I've had many F it moments. And like, you know, I do this my jam. Civic engagement is, you know, I talk and do civic engagement. That's my shit. And you know, I choose this and still be like, I'm tired. And so for community to be tired, have the right to be tired. The problem is we can't lay it down. Because when we lay it down, then we tremble. So what we got to do is, Keerson, I'm gonna hold your peace while you get some rest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm gonna let you go and be tired, and then you hand it off and say, "I got my legs under me, Nia. I will hold it for you." And I can take my break. You know, drink something nice, have somebody, you know, treat me to a nice little dinner or something. You know, appreciate it, a little vacation. You know, go to Ghana, and you know, enjoy life, because it's not all about the fight. It's also about enjoyment. Mm-hmm. And you know, one of the things that we're trying to do with this conference, with these spaces, is build something new. You know, we talk about, you talk about, you know, not having a seat at the table, but sometimes it takes building your own table. Yes. And polishing it and being like, and then the next thing you know, people will be like, I want that table. Like, no, this is my table.
Have your table over there. This is mine.
This is mine, exactly. And so what this weekend is all about is celebrating everything, our ancestors, and the history of who we are as Black folks, as Black women, to really celebrate how incredible we are right now. Everybody out there is good enough just as they are. Yes. Brilliant enough. Have done enough work. You know, so many times as Black women, we feel like we haven't done enough. Oh, we've done enough. I guarantee. We all work Bill Gates, you know, level work. We're all, you know, so we look at celebrities like, oh shit, you know, they work so hard. No, we work hard. Your janitor works hard. Your housekeeper works hard. Your teachers work hard. You know what I'm saying? Nobody, they just don't get the same coins.
Exactly.
That's it. But we're all working so hard. And so celebrating the hard work and who we are now, and then imagining what this world can and will look like when we're able to show up as our full selves, when we're able to be the best of who we are. And one of the reasons why we were able to put together this conference is we got a grant from Packard. You know, Packard, shout out to Packard, appreciate it, to put together a fellowship of Black women led and focused orgs in this state. So we got 13 of them, dope and diverse, because we're not a monolith. And so we were able to put this together. And so we're going to hear from them tonight and throughout the weekend. But we were able to put together all of these pieces. But there's one person in particular that's really special to me, to this work and this movement. And her name is Alana Hebert. Alana is the executive director of the ACLU in Louisiana. And I met Alana many years ago. We were trying to do a criminal justice reform package here in the state. And Alana was working for the Chief Justice, who is the first Black woman Chief Justice, Chief Justice Johnson in Louisiana. And Alana was like the inside person. I was the outside grassroots person. And we worked together from our perspective, getting that bill package passed. And when Packard offered out this opportunity to build something new this legislative session, they put out a request and they funded 2 organizations in Louisiana. Citizen She and the ACLU, run by Alana Hebert, 2 organizations run by Black women. And so right? Like, that's a thing. And so what we did was we decided to join forces. And so what we're going to do is we decided to welcome everyone into this space, into this build, as we build a new paradigm and a new era for Black women throughout the state and throughout the country. Whatever fortitude exists in this nation was built on the backs of Black women. See, when We the People was written, we were not considered people. Yet despite that reality, we have built coalition that have taken into consideration intersectional issues, infused communal compassion, and with callous hands, we fight daily for our rightful access to the constitutional rights that we are supposed to be afforded, even in the moments when our own mortality is dismissed and ignored. You see, whatever beauty exists in maneuvering this world as a Black woman is diluted by the political and social realities that try to diminish our voice.
So when we are presented with a moment of audacious hope to not only imagine, but to co-create a universe where we can share, learn, edify, and share vulnerability with one another, we have no choice but to summon the audacious creativity of Octavia Butler and imagine a world and what it would look like
to build an alliance that crosses demographics, of liberated ideas of freedom from Black women across the state, building upon the liberated ideas of our foremothers, and build a group of Black women that force policymakers to consider us and the realities of our lives before policies are passed.
Black women are not a monolith. We come in every hue and complexion, our hair every curl pattern or none at all, and our lived experiences as diverse as the plains of the Serengeti. And yet we share a common collective knowledge that comes from deeper than just our roots. It comes from our ancestry. And when we are able to marry these simple truths, our diversity, with our individuality, we can shift mountains, we can move currents, and we can change the inequality that exists in our nation.
Black women protect our old and our young. We leave no one behind, and we mourn those that are no longer with us because we understand that even though each individual is important, that their contribution to the collective of the whole is necessary for our entire being to exist.
In this new world, we envision a world free of ego, pride, and fear, where our hearts guide the answers, and love is the central tenet of every answer, where our souls know no bounds and are free to join together in freedom, peace, and joy.
When Black women sit collectively at the helm, we're able to work together, educate policymakers, build our leadership capacity. We're able to influence the thought and understanding of who we are. We're able to build a base that is there to protect us, build upon the reality of what our ancestors wanted, and leave an incredible future for our children.
Standing united, Black women will tackle the most pressing challenges in this nation from their root. We will continue to do the hard work to solve structural inequality, not simply pasting tourniquets on the wounds of systemic injustice. We will do the work to ensure that our beloved communities are able to breathe more freely and experience the true meaning of life.
When we arrive and are able to fully show up,
our collective brilliance will illuminate the night sky
and bend the arc of history,
and we will change the world.
Round of applause. That was so good.
That's me. It was really special writing that and building that with Alana. That was just a focal tenet of what we believe and what we're trying to do. And I will tell you, you know, this year in this session, what we're trying to build and do with the forethought of what it means to be Black women and navigate with Black women, honey, y'all ain't ready yet. I'm just saying, y'all ain't ready yet. Now, I tell you what I am ready for, Keerson.
Yes.
Ready for a drink.
It's Friday. It's Friday. Let's have a drink. Let's do it.
You know what I'm saying? It's happy hour, and I'm, you know, happy, and I want to stay happy. And there is one person that I know I can always call on to create something that makes me happy. And it's my dear friend Justini. Let me tell y'all, Justini, this is the second time I called Justini and said, hey girl, can you make me a drink and like dedicate it and give us a demonstration? And she says yes without hesitation. So I want to, I'm doing how they say, introduce to some or reintroduce to some. How is that? And introduce to most. Anyway, y'all about to get y'all drink on. Y'all meet my friend Justini.
Yes.
Justini Cocktails.
Good evening, everyone. Y'all ready to drink? It is Friday, and I am dedicating this drink to freedom. And so this drink is called a mojito. So instead of a mojito, we're calling it a free-hito. So
I'm a free-hito.
I'm going to just basically start with letting you guys know what I'm going to use. And of course, I have a cocktail shaker filled with ice, rum, lime juice, simple syrup, fresh blueberries, limes, a muddler, fresh mint, a strainer, rum, of course, and then a jigger. But I mean, who wants to measure their liquor? But I'm going to do it right, okay? So,
Justini, excuse me, I do not measure my liquor. I drink it.
Yeah. So, and that's what I always say, please excuse if I'm not following the recipe that's given, because I don't follow recipes, you know, but I like to give them, you know, so you guys can make it correctly, but I kind of just go off. Most bartenders just go off the dome, okay? So excuse me if I'm not perfect with the recipe that I gave. If you're not making a cocktail with me tonight, I have emailed the recipe card so you guys can make it for your next function, girls' night, hosting at home, whatever. So I'm going to start out with pulling some fresh mint into my mixer glass.
Yup.
And then I'm going to do a half an ounce of simple syrup.
I got my simple syrup. I got my Pato's simple syrup because, you know, New Orleans.
I love somebody who brands, okay? We're going to take our muddler and we're going to muddle it so we can grab all of that mint flavor into our cocktail.
Just thinking, when you say muddle, like, what does that mean? Are we making it into a paste?
You muddle herbs, so you can get that scent and that flavor. So just by putting the mint as a garnish or just putting it into your drink, you won't taste the mint like you're supposed to.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to also add some blueberries.
Ooh, I love blueberries. Good antioxidants.
I forgot to grab my blueberries.
It's okay. That's extra. You don't need blueberries.
I am extra.
You are so right here. We're going to muddle that, okay? So now we're going to take our shaker and we're going to fill it with ice. And like I said, most of the time I just put my rum or my alcohol in it, but we're going to do 1.5 ounces. And a jigger is the measuring tool that you use to measure your cocktails. Most of the time we do that just so it can be consistent. Whenever, you know. Then we're going to do 1/2 ounce of lime juice.
I like the lime juice.
And then I also have blueberry liqueur syrup because blueberries really don't have a taste to it. So I'm doing about 4 of that to give it a little extra flavor. We're going to pour our mint in there and our blueberries, and we're going to shake.
I'm going to fake it. I'm going to fake my shake.
So, doing the unusual mojito, and we're doing a free-hito, we're going to get a champagne flute. We're gonna pour it maybe halfway.
Oh, that's beautiful.
We're gonna take some of our mint that was in here, stuff it down in there. And my favorite part, we're gonna top it with champagne. So this is a sparkling blueberry mojito.
I love it. And I love the champagne part. I'm a French 75 girl myself.
Oh yes, I'm anything with bubbles.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Now, Justine, as a mixologist, I appreciate it. You come up with some really incredible recipes. When you were thinking about doing a drink centered around freedom and Black women, what made you come up with these ingredients and put it this way?
Well, a mojito is very refreshing. And I think as Black women, we are very refreshing.
That's right.
Champagne, like you say, is extra. Blueberries is extra, and we are extra. So just kind of putting a twist and turn to a classic cocktail. And I think we put that twist and that turn, we add the bubbles to any situation that we're in.
I love that. Justine, what is your favorite thing? Because you rock with Black women. Like the Black women that I know rock with Black women hard.
Deal with Black women.
Yes. What is your favorite thing about Black women and your favorite thing about being a Black woman?
I think my favorite thing about Black women is that first of all, we're beautiful. And I think I might say this every day. Like every time I pass a Black woman, I'm like, oh, she's beautiful. And then if I go to the next Black woman, I'm like, damn, she's beautiful too. But she looks totally different from that woman. I'm like, God damn, like, you see why we are such a target, because we are a force. You know what I'm saying? And so by me loving Black women, it's like we are so different, from skin color to hair, talent, gifts. We're everything. You know what I'm saying? And then to hear Black women's stories and still see how much we're on top, it's like, it leaves me speechless.
That's so real. I have a question for you too, because you are a small business owner. And as a Black woman business owner in this society, we talk about economic inequity as being one of the top tenets that, Black women in Louisiana, right? So let's just go back to the wage gap, right? The wage gap is, how much money, everyone else makes compared to white men, basically. Black men make 77 cents. White women make 67 cents. Black women on average across the country make less than 50 cents. But in Louisiana, Black women make 43 cents, 47 to 43 cents. It's the largest wage gap in the entire country, right? So for those of us that are small business owners and Black women, we're fighting a lot. What is it like being a small business owner in the state that has the largest wage gap in the whole country?
Well, one, when you're saying that, all I was thinking, honestly, is that's why I bartend. Because once you're drunk, nobody cares about the color of your skin. So, getting into the world and kind of just doing my own thing and having a small business, it is very hard to get to have the price accepted, because I'm not getting a wage from someone, but I'm giving a price. And they are skeptical, like, oh my God, you charge that much? And I'm like, yeah, this is what I charge. I'm not saying it's much, but this is what I charge. And so I do get that a lot. And so what I've realized is that I had to tell myself this, so it's just me telling myself that everyone's not going to be your client, and it is what it is, And so as many no's as I get so many yeses. So that's I'm on the right road, or I'm going in the direction I need to be going, because if I'm getting all no's, then I kind of know it's me, But some people say, okay, send a deposit, write that check, and we have an amazing time. And then some people want to question, price and give it and da-da-da-da. And so I'm like, I just have to remind myself that, what, this is what I want to do. Everyone is not my client. Whoever wants me to be at their event or, their wedding or whatever it might be, that's who my client is. And so I can't really focus on the no's, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. And one thing that is similarly situated with you and Keerson and myself, but I'm stepping away from that part of the conversation because I want to hear from you guys, is that you all came up with ideas, right? Keerson with the podcast, you with Justini Cocktails and everything you all have navigated. You all have come up with these ideas and manifested your ideas regardless of what society says about Black women, which is to be celebrated and incredible. But what was for both of you? What was that process like to sit there and be like, I got an idea. I know what I want to do, and to actually manifest it and become a thing?
For me, it was my mom. My mom was the person that pushed me to really think big, to think, do what you want to do. If you're going to do it, give it 110% or don't do it at all. So when Megan and I came up with the concept for the podcast, it was just something that we knew that we were passionate about. Like, we're passionate about women, and specifically Black women. We're so passionate about driving us to be the forefront, to be, to be seen. And so with that, the passion just like drug us to continue to do episode after episode. And there's been trials and tribulations, but it's so worth it.
Justini, I would love to hear what that process was like for you.
I think my process was the same, just like Keerson, and mine was more of my dad. He has an entrepreneur spirit, and it doesn't matter if I want to have a barbershop on Mars. He's gonna be like, this is what you have to do this barbershop on Mars. So I constantly grew up with that support, and so my mom is more of a safe person. And one day I was out and someone said, yeah, your mama said you're doing so good with Justini, and this was in stages. And I'm like, wait, hold on, my mama bragging? I might be up to something.
Love it.
That is kind of what kept me going, and I had to get out the corporate world. Like, I have an HR background, and there was no way, and everybody's different. But I know for me, that just could not have been my day to day. Like, it couldn't be. And so I love the women, and I always love women, always love girls, and I always try to figure out what could I do, to make money, but, incorporate women. And so Justini is kind of how I brought it together. And, I feel like once you have a drink, you open up. As Black women, we aren't as open. We're getting better, of course. But when I started, we kind of shut down a lot, especially when I'm around a lot of Black women. And so once I started kind of incorporating drinks with events and women, it just became like a community. And so my process was just the same as Keerson, just having that support and just kind of knowing that, like she said, it's about passion, because you can, believe me, you can say forget it, but if the passion is there, you're like, with the things that have happened to me, I'm like, I would thought it would have broke me down more, but it put more fire in me to like really see how far I could go,
I love it. Justini, before we do our toast, I have one last question for you. It's my question I ask everybody. Gonna get this question. The gird your loins, guys, because everybody gonna get this question. Justini, if you had a message, a love letter to Black women out there, especially young Black women that are sitting right there with an idea, wanting to be something different than where they are, what's your love letter? What is your piece of advice?
I feel like it's so cliche, but think big. Like, think bigger than me, because I feel like the one thing I would have changed with my process is me thinking on a smaller scale, just because it wasn't something that already existed really, Of course, there's caterers, don't get me wrong, but to kind of actually go outside of the catering world, I never really big. Like, of course, now my thoughts are huge, but it's hard to get out that box. So don't think about that ultimate goal, and that's how you start. Don't start thinking small. Start thinking big, and just like, I don't want to say the F word, but forget everything or everybody who doesn't believe in it. And I feel like it's so cliche and people say it all the time, but think big and just do it.
I love it. Just do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think we're going to take that and just do it.
Just do it. Because
I completely agree.
If you're that passionate about it, just do it.
Just do it. I love it. All right, we're going to go ahead and make this toast. You know, so I want us to raise our glasses to our ancestors, giving homage to everything that they built us up to be. I want us to raise our glasses to all the Black women in the present, where we are as we dream and as we build. And I want to raise our glasses to all the Black women yet to be born, all the Black women in our future. You know, that we are building a new paradigm for you, and that you build a new paradigm for those that are coming behind you. So cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that was good. Yeah.
My name is Gwendolyn Hughes, and I am the Louisiana State Convener for Black Women's Roundtable. I love Black women because of their capacity to love. It is the love of Black women that has carried our generation. It is the love of Black women that has forgiven the unthinkable. It is the love of Black women that has caused us to rise time and time again with social injustices and all of those things that just keep beating us down. I love Black women because of their capacity to love. Puzzles. 500-piece puzzles, 1,000-piece puzzles. Recently, I was introduced to puzzling. While on vacation with my girlfriend, Virginia, as we settled in that evening, I decided that I was going to binge watch Netflix. And she said, great, I'm going to do a puzzle. Curious, I asked, well, what kind of puzzle are you going to do? She then pulled it out and showed me this beautiful puzzle that was of 5 Black women. They were in various outfits, gowns, little cocktail numbers, all that stuff. And I said, okay, I'll join you. Surprised, she said, really? I said, yeah. So then we started. We poured a couple glasses of wine and changed the lighting and started to puzzle. I noticed immediately that there was a rhyme and a reason to what she was doing. She went on to explain that there are certain steps you have to take to be successful in putting your puzzle together. The first step was to start and sort out the pieces. She said that in order to get a good start, we needed to have the framework done. So we had to pick out all of the pieces that formed the border for it. It was your framework. The second thing we had to do was sort out those obvious images. So in this particular thing, the gowns that the ladies had on, so there was a red gown, so we sorted red pieces, and there was a peach gown, and we sorted the peach pieces, and so on and so forth. After we did that, she said the third thing that we needed to do was now start to connect the pieces in those sections. So we put together the border, and then we individually started putting our pieces together, those little sections that we had. As we connected our pieces, she said, now let's see where they fit into the bigger scheme of things. What I noticed was that there were pieces that were now connecting the individual pieces. Some pieces connected individual pieces to others, some connected to the borders of the puzzle. This was fascinating to me because now I got a chance to see the picture coming into play. Instead of just having these standalone things, you saw the whole collective coming together. Well, 6 hours later, tired and giddy, we decided that we would save some for the next day. As I laid down in the bed, I was still excited on the inside, and I couldn't understand what the excitement was. Later, I would realize that the reason I was so excited on the inside because puzzling actually mimicked something that I love to do. The way I find out people's purpose and their passions is that I start to ask questions. I start to break things up into manageable pieces. And what I know to be true is there are 3 things that everyone has that will speak to their purpose. These are puzzle pieces. Those 3 puzzle pieces are these. First puzzle piece is their archetype. An archetype is your prototype. It is your form. It is, I like to call it your God DNA. It is how you were built and made. The second puzzle piece is your aptitude. Your aptitude is your natural ability to do a thing. It is your talents, your giftings, and your abilities. So the third piece is the chameleon puzzle piece, as I like to call it. It's similar in shape and size, and it can fit almost anywhere. Sometimes the only distinction between that piece and where it really belongs and where it fits is the fact that when you look at the vision, it doesn't really come together. That puzzle piece is an indicator that there are other options, but there's only really one true option. When you use the three puzzle pieces that you are given, your archetype, your aptitude, and your aspiration, your job, your goal is to see where you fit in the great puzzle of life. Sometimes our puzzle pieces in their chameleon form fit in places. Sometimes there's a job that is not quite right, but we make it fit. You know, it doesn't really stand out, but it's not clicking for us. Those are things that we need to look for when we're trying to find out who we are in this great puzzle. Also, one of the things about being the puzzle piece is that when the vision changes, you have the ability to pull the piece up. You can give yourself permission to reconnect someplace else. When COVID entered and it shook everything up, people began to realize that their three puzzle pieces could now be arranged somewhere else. People began to realize that they had talents and abilities, and that if they were going to start all over, they were going to do it for themselves. COVID was a level setter, but it also was an equalizer in that we had an opportunity to now reflect on what mattered most. The point of my talk is to say this to you. Like a puzzle, there are three pieces that we all need to connect us to what is best, what is highest for us. There are three things that we should always remember when trying to figure out purpose and trying to follow passion. There is an archetype, there's an aptitude, and there's an aspiration. Use your puzzle pieces to connect to the world. Thank you.
When we talk about art and activism working as a collaborative, I am really lucky that I have so many incredible Black women to pull from whose genius I get to move with. And one of them is none other than the new, it's hard to say new, but the newest executive director of Ashe Cultural Arts Center in New Orleans, Louisiana, Asali Devon Ecclesiastes. And today we're going to have a conversation with this beautiful, incredible, brilliant woman about art and activism and culture in the city. Hello, Asali.
Hello, Nia. Thank you. And don't worry, it still feels very new to me as well.
I love it. Asali, can you tell us just a little bit about what Ashe does?
Certainly. So Ashe Cultural Arts Center is a community-based organization rooted in the use of art and culture for community development. So while the celebration of all of the art forms are core to what we do, our mission really is about building intergenerational wealth and capacity inside of our communities to be able to survive and thrive.
Why is that so important for us to have within our community?
Well, because it is continually, constantly, and consistently stripped from our communities as a matter of course by the policies and the politics that guide us every day. Our communities are the ones that austerity measures are implemented against. It's where, fees and fines are mined in order to float city budgets. And it is where the tax bases are most often exploited. And so concentrated prosperity in this country is built upon concentrated disparity in our community. So it is important to have organizations invested in returning that.
I love that so much. So how does art and culture infuse itself into policy and and the structure of how the impact of economics in our community?
Well, culture includes so many different things, right? Not just what we traditionally think of as the art and culture forms. It's not just the music and the food and the dance and the colors and those things. It's also how we deal with our finances, right? It's part of our culture and our financial and economic health, as well as the environmental health of our communities, as well as our civic engagement, how we engage with our municipalities, how we hold them accountable, how we engage and hold our leaders accountable. So all of that is part of our culture. And so art is, I think, best positioned in society because I think artists are our most trusted messengers, right? And we certainly see that illustrated in the health field right now. Your doctor and your scientists can't tell nobody nothing, right? It causes all kinds of, unwarranted backlash, but that's just where we are. But here we find our artists are our trusted messengers. People, can believe what they say because they share their experiences. And so we're trying to empower our artists, in all of those areas, in health, in financial wellness, in housing affordability, in environmental justice, to be able to be good messengers and good stewards of information for their community, and also to spur community to act in ways, meaning to change habits and to introduce new customs and to innovate culture in ways that can change outcomes inside of those policies and laws that we talk about.
Ashe has such a beautiful story and a beautiful history. Included in that is the location and the reasoning behind where it's located in the city and the community that you're trying to invest in. Can you tell us a little bit about the community and the intent behind where Ashe is located and what you are doing in that particular neighborhood and community?
Absolutely. So Ashe is located in Central City on Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard, in the actual building, a site of demonstration for Aretha Castle Haley and lots of our young civil rights leaders in New Orleans at the time, including Jerome Smith and Rudy Lombard, Kokomo. So it's, certainly a site of celebration, a site of resistance, and a site of reclamation, the fact that a place that was, once so contentious in our community, the site of civil rights victories is now a community resource that is run, led, and grown by that very same community.
I absolutely love that. Just getting a little bit personal, Asali, what drew you to be in leadership in this space? Carol B. Bell was there for a very long time. Mama Carol is, dear and dear, and we all felt comforted when you stepped into this role. And so what drew you and what has it been like being a new leader in this space?
Well, so very honestly, what drew me to the role was community, because I didn't intend to do it, right? There was a national search for this position, over 100 applications from all over the country. And so I was like, okay, good. We have a lot of, good, solid applications, a lot of visionary people, certainly with the capacity to take Ashe in the direction that it needed to go. But for some reason, my elders here were determined, right, that this was something that they wanted of me. And I was encouraged, demanded, cajoled, into, submitting a proposal for the role. And even as I did it, honestly, Nia, it was with this is, will be much better managed, by someone else, just because, I felt like a lot of times when you have, these deep institutions, meaning deeply rooted in community, that sometimes, it takes a fresh perspective, right, to be able to help that organization reach its next level. And in all honesty, of course, I had other things that I was planning to do. Everyone knows that I was deeply and am still deeply involved in the Culture Innovation District project on Claiborne Avenue, and was intending to, really dedicate my time there. But as I thought about it, and, everybody knows I'm a little bit of an elder worshiper. And so as I, obeyed, it became clearer to me that this was definitely something, because of how the organization was grown and conceived by Mama Carol and Baba Doug, right? That it was important that a certain sense of history, I think, that I represent, as well as a certain sense of the future, is maintained, right, inside of Ashe. So I'm privileged to be able to be in the space. Certainly, Mama Carol's advice to me, because everybody's like, how are you going to fill those shoes? And one thing Mama Carol told me, she said, you don't need to fill my shoes, because, she's 6-something and I'm barely 5 feet tall. She's like, but you can fly. So, don't worry about filling my shoes. Dream, imagine, and go after it. And that's what we've been doing. And it has been the key to our growth and success.
So between Ashe, Asali, and the Claiborne, that because I know that project, how much that means to you. I'm going to ask you to do what Mama Carol asked you to do. If you could dream, imagine, just live in the space that you love to see, not just for you, but just for all of us in the city when it comes to art and activism, solidifying Black space with both of those projects. Take us on that journey of what that dream looks like.
Well, so, all of these dreams are so intertwined, right? Because certainly Mama Carol was involved in the conception of the Claiborne Avenue project. And it is also the realization, right, of a lot of dreams deferred. The Claiborne project initially came into community life in the 50s, right? Not in the 50s, 50 years ago. But 50 years ago when the interstate was first built, and the 326 Black-owned businesses, that were lost by building that, the 500 live oak trees, the longest stand of live oak trees in North America, the thriving business and community and cultural center that was there. It can't, be erased, right? There is something of it that lives in the culture, in community memory. And so the revival of it, certainly deeply entrenches that same history and those same people and those same movements, of ours that Ashe was able to grow out of and to provide, the respite that this larger Claiborne project calls for. And in the greatest imagination for that project, which is really about, the restoration of resources and intergenerational wealth that was taken, not just from those specific businesses, but from Black communities in general in New Orleans, right? How our policies, the red line and et cetera, have mined our wealth, our resources, and our access to a quality of life, right? And I think that by restoring that project, with all of the policies that it encompasses, with all of the financial incentives that it encompasses, and with all of the opportunities for business, for Black-owned, community-based, culturally based businesses, I don't think there is any distinction and, separation between that work. It's all the people, places, and philosophies of the African diaspora.
I appreciate you so much, Asali. I have one last question. If you had a message, and I know you do, because you and I have spoken in quite a bit, but a love message to Black women, what would it be?
I've been thinking about this a bit recently, because, there's a lot of messages around now about rest and recognizing, our need for rest and, some respite from all of the harsh realities that Black people help usher the world through, right? And I think that part of the barrier, to us, accepting that a lot of times, and it's just that, we feel like we have so much to do. And not we feel like, we know that there are a lot of things that we do and that we take care of that if we didn't do them, just would not get done, would not happen. And so how do you balance that, right, with your personal needs? And so if I had a love note to Black women, I would tell them that they deserve it, right? And that even if they didn't do another single solitary thing in this world from this point on, everything that they've done is enough. And just their dreams for the future is enough to bring it about. And so everything else that they give, everything that we give, should just come from a place of sacred gratitude that we even feel prepared to give. And so take the rest, take the respite, take the, sometimes luxuriate in it. That is really okay, and it's well deserved. And our price has been paid in blood many, 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 many times over. And the world needs us to be whole. The world needs us to be happy. And so let's take the time to decide what that is for ourselves and to create the realities in which our wholeness can thrive.
I can't thank you enough. I love you and I appreciate you.
I love you so much, Nia. Thank you.
And hope you guys enjoy the rest of the conference, and we will tune back into our next panel. Thank you.
Both Asali and Gwen, man, they gave us a word. And, it just, from two different perspectives with the same heart, that's the thing is we're not a monolith, but we love very similarly. We hold each other dearly. And I'm just really, really grateful for them.
Yes, they were really, really, really good. Enjoyed
them. So speaking of enjoyment, one thing that I have been really blessed to be able to navigate the last couple of months is this fellowship with these incredible Black women, these Black women-led organizations. Keerson, each one of these organizations comes from a different perspective. They organize with a different group. We also have friends that are joining this next panel, this Rooting Roundtable. And we call it the Rooting Roundtable. And the reason why it's the very first panel on this conference is because it's what we're doing, organizing Black women. Have you organized Black women before, Keerson? That's been an experience that you've had?
Other than wrangling my girlfriends, I haven't done a big event. I would love to do that. I love planning. So maybe in the works, just maybe we'll sprinkle it in there.
I love it. I will say wrangling your girlfriends is organizing Black women. I'm sorry.
Yes.
That's how we do it, which is actually what I've done in this conference. And speaking of wrangling Black women and wrangling our friends, one organization that I have to shout out highly is Miss Foundation. Miss Foundation has been, it's headed by this incredible woman named Teresa Younger. And I've known Teresa now, I think, for about 7-8 years. And she is, y'all gotta look her up. This woman is dynamic, beyond dynamic, beyond dynamic. Every board, everything you can think of, she's a part of. And she also has sat in company with me on her way to the airport, taking my phone call, trying to figure out what the heck I was doing. In that space, she's introduced me to her staff and her family. And one incredible woman that is part of the Miss Foundation family is my friend Shonda Chapman. And let me tell you about this girl, this woman. I'm not gonna say girl, this woman. We went to lunch one day at Luke's. And we sat there, ate, drank, communed, and loved. And she has been right there with me every day, even to when I go to Brooklyn. Just so y'all know, this is who I dance in Brooklyn with. So she shall be moderating this panel. This panel is some y'all about to come get it. And so really, really excited to present the Rooting Roundtable panel on organizing Black women.
Well, excuse my background.
Can you all hear me?
Can you hear me?
I cannot hear you.
Cannot hear me? I hear you, Shonda.
Try saying I'm going to log off and I'll log back on.
Can you hear
that way? I I could hear you a second ago and we lost it. So I'm going to log out, but I'm going to log back on.
You know what? That's one of the things that we live.
I don't hear you.
You don't hear me? I'll tell you. Yeah, go ahead and log off. I'll hold it down. That's what we do. I hold it. You hold it. That's how we do. You know, one of the things of being in this new tech world is that we have to like navigate with spaces that are way beyond our control. I was having my own technical difficulties earlier. We work through them. How are you guys doing? Before we start your panel, y'all ready for this conversation?
I think so.
I'm ready for this conversation.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I'm ready.
Ready. I love you. Chantel's been ready. I have felt the readiness for quite some time. I will say one person that is not part of our fellowship, but is part of our fellowship, is Erin. Hi, Erin. Good evening. How are you, my love?
Hi, I'm well. I'm trying to figure out how to do the virtual background. I think I'll just blur it.
There you go. There you go. Popping. And that's one of the things, as we talk about organizing Black women, we've got to give each other the grace to figure stuff out. We're building something new, doing a whole lot of these things differently. Miss Yvonne, I see you with your background, Miss Yvonne.
Yeah, I got it working today.
Hello.
That's it. And that's what we're doing is we're building something new, figuring things out. And as we're traversing new territory, we've got to give each other the ability to when we teach children, not that we're children, but as we're figuring out, as we're learning life and learning, we got to give each other the grace to figure stuff out.
We're babes in technology.
Technology.
Yeah, babe.
I am going to start off though, and I'm going to ask the first question as we get all the things together. But each one of you organizes Black women differently. What made you choose? Because not everybody wants to do that. Let's just be real. What made you choose to organize Black women? Who wants to go first? I'm calling. I'm do like my class. I'm call on you.
Okay, I'll go. I mean, there's so many things that we need to accomplish. And without the numbers and without organizing, you can't get that done. So actually the organization was there at the national level for National Coalition of 100 Black Women. And, it was organized as a chapter in New Orleans. And when I was invited to participate, I thought this is great because we can come together, talk about what our concerns are, and strategize about how we can accomplish our goals.
That's right. I love that. Erin, you just put on an event with a bunch of us. You know what I'm saying? And anybody that knows me knows wrangling me in is not a thing. And Erin has been trying to do that for at least a year. Erin, what made you choose to organize Black women?
Well, I started doing this in, I guess, October, September of 2020. And, it was all the headlines. We were dying in the streets for no good reason. And I knew that I had an unmet need in my life. I needed to be able to gather with my other Black women, my sister friends, my sister queens, and talk about what was going on in a safe space and not have to explain it to anybody outside of my race, not have to apologize for the way that I felt. And I knew that if I was feeling it, I wasn't alone. So that was it was a selfish impetus, but that was it.
I love that. It's not selfish, just so you know. I mean, it's selfish, but not selfish at the same time. So yes, I love that. And I will say, I believe, Chantel, you're similarly situated, but I'm going to ask you a little bit of a different question, right? Is that as we're organizing Black women, because and I want you to tell a little bit of the story of where Crew Harmonia has come from. But as we're organizing Black women, because where you all came from, there were certain things that you had to consider because you were organizing Black women outside of a space that didn't want to organize Black women. So, can you answer both of those questions for us?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of that was all encompassing, right? So we were a subgroup, but then wanting that, I have to say what Erin said, like it's a like-mindedness and it was a part selfishness, right? So you want to be in a space of, educated women, but you want to have that opportunity to vent and you want to be able to say, like, I want to voice these things that I want to say somewhat in a professional sense, but not in my professional setting, and be able to articulate it in a way. So I want to say, in that email where you say, per my last conversation, or you want to be able to say, in, it, in the emails that you send at work where you say, I said, in the safe space, right? We need those forums that give us that opportunity. And what better way to do that than with Black women? And we provide that soft cushion, right? It's an opportunity to be able to do that. And one thing I love about my crew is that we give that in many forms of fashions. And sometimes we have that professional hat on, sometimes we have that fun hat, sometimes we have a service hat, and sometimes we do many things, and we could wear those hats multiple different ways on multiple different days at multiple different times, and it works. And we can be Renaissance women at any given time and still be us and still love us and love each other and be 100% who we are. So that's, why I've chosen to do that and be in that space.
You know what, like everything you all are saying is like, it's resonating with me because, I organize Black women. Like, for all the same reasons. I think that one of the things that's special about our fellowship, and Erin, I think one thing that's special about this space, we got a whole group text of a bunch of Black women that, we talk all day long. And so one of the, similarly situated, it feels good. Like all the things, but it feels good in the world that doesn't always feel good.
Good.
That's real. One of the things, I get this all the time from allies. And so right now, allies that are out there watching, we are now going to speak directly to you. Okay, so I'm always getting these questions about, how do we organize Black women? What about, and I'm always trying to explain to them what Black women need in order for us, like it's and we know, and we don't have to talk about it all the time. We just know and we do it, right? But for those that are out there trying to figure out how do we engage with and organize with Black women, what things do they have to consider if it's even something that's coming to top of mind?
I mean, I think I'll answer if I could go, because, and the reason why I'll go is because we are intertwined with our allies, right? Because Crew of Harmonia is, I'll say, probably 65 to 70% Black women, but the other percent is our allies who speak our language, if I could say. And that's probably the most important thing, is speak our language. We are very direct. We are very blunt. But it is all coming from a place of love. And it is never, meant to be in a negative or a bad place, but it is from many, many years of trauma, and understanding where it is coming from is probably the most important thing to understand. So the allies are critical and important to the story, and are very, very necessary, but understanding the past years of trauma is important. So
I love it. Shonda.
Good evening, everyone. Listen, every now and then, I'm sure you've all had this happen where the tech didn't want to let you be great, right? But the thing about it is, I don't give up like that, tech. Y'all got too many devices around here, and the children's headphones and all the things. So I really want to shout you out for being here, for having me here, and for carrying on as we do, because we get these things done. So thank you so much. I'm really happy to be in conversation and happy to join in.
Well, Shawna, I'm happy to have you. Also, like, I mean, you didn't hear what I said about you earlier, but like, I was letting them know when I rock in Brooklyn, you are rocking with when I'm in Brooklyn.
Right. And listen, y'all family now too. So when you come to Brooklyn, you let me know, because see, that's how we do things around here.
There we go. Well, Shauna, I'm gonna let you take over your panel. I'm gonna step down and you all have an incredible conversation.
Okay. Well, listen, and you're welcome to join. You can stay and be part of the conversation if you so choose. But thank you so much for holding us down. I really appreciate it. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to jump in, but I just wanted to say really quickly, Shonda Chapman, I direct the Girls of Color Initiative at the Men's Foundation for Women, where we really focus specifically on supporting the movement building and leadership development of women and girls of color. So this work is extraordinarily near and dear to my heart, and I'm really, really, really thrilled to just be in conversation with all of you. I really wanted to make sure that we uplifted the power and the brilliance of Black women doing organizing work, especially in the Southern context. But I wanted to also talk about what it means to do this work of dismantling oppression in a context where we're also navigating oppression, where our organizations are actively and really deeply under-resourced sometimes, where we've had to oftentimes make up we've had to make up the gaps, from a disinvestment in our leadership, and while we live in a world that doesn't actively love us back, right? Because one of the things I knew even before we got on this panel was that we know what it means to organize. Black women are organizers, right? Whether or not we professionalize that title, most of us have been doing the work of organizing since we were young people. But what does it mean to do this work in a way that we don't have to pay for it with our blood, right? Like, that's the part that I actually would like to focus a little bit on. What are the ways that you are able to sort of navigate this work and not kill yourselves, and what do you need, what do you need and from whom do you need it to be able to do this work in a way that is sustainable? And I will just jump in if you feel like the spirit is moving you just to have something to say about this one.
Okay, well, I'm Gemma, and I would say what helps me be able to do this work is we work as a group. We are a coalition of 100 Black women, and we support each other, and that is so important that you get that support from your sisters, and that helps me to stay balanced, because if I'm unable to complete something, I can throw it over to my sister and she would support me. So I think the support from our sisterhood is what helps us to be able to do this work, because as you say, it's work that is not appreciated sometimes, most times it's not, but it's work that needs to be done. And we work in the trenches in the advocacy work that we do. So, and I'll throw it over to our president if she would like to continue on that.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies. Well, I think with organizing, I can't speak for any other races, but I know with organizing for Black women, it starts probably in the home, because we do so much and we carry so many titles. And so when we have all those titles, we're moms, we're daughters, we're sisters, we're friends, we're confidants, we're co-workers, and we carry a lot of that weight in order to, I think, help other people, but sometimes we put more of the burden on ourselves to make sure someone else is good. So I think in organizing, we as women, we bring that to the table to our organizations, and we want to make sure everybody else is good. We know how to get it all done. We might be weary and tired in doing it, but we know how to make it work, get it done by any means necessary. We know how to improvise. We know how to work with a little budget, even though we really know we need way more than we're working with. But as women and as Black women, we just know how to put it together. And for our organization, we come from different backgrounds, professional backgrounds, but we have one common goal, one mission. And so with all our organizational skills, we just bring that to the forefront and do what needs to be done to make sure our mission is carried out.
Larissa, I think you make a really great point there, sort of about getting the work done, sort of even with not enough. I always say that Black women are the queens of making $1 out of 15 cents. But I'd actually like to think about what it would look like to imagine a world that was actually built around the needs of Black women. What would it look like if your organizing work was fully resourced? You know, what would that mean for both your organization? What would that mean for your leadership? And what would that mean for our movements as a whole?
The stress levels will go down. You know, I
Right.
mean, to Lanisa's point, you know, the whole perspective of trying to make the ends meet, right? And filling in that gap. I know that I can speak for all of the ladies here. You fill in the gap with your own funds, right? You are going to make it happen one way or another. It's fundraising, it is, raising funds from the members. Sometimes you're like, oh, I hate to ask them for get a dime. We all fall into that place where it's like, I don't want to ask again, but then you give so much of yourself. So it would mean so much, just not wanting to stretch the dollar so much further. It would just decrease your stress level of having to make that ask again, because you say, you know what, I want to give to this particular fund. You know what, there's maternal child health initiatives that I want to give. There are, these emergencies over here that I want to address. There are, we'd eliminate food insecurity. It's like there's so many different things that we would address and we would support, that, we would wave the wand and address them all at one time. I know that those are the things that we would all do all at one time. It would certainly bring us to a place, right, of, I would say, cohesion, right? If we could do it in that place. And I know certainly we would not be, I would say, competing for dollars in that space also, if we could, we weren't in that place of, how do we, to Kirsten's point, making $1 out of 15 cents in every place?
Yeah, this one is particularly salient for me as a funder, and I'm constantly sort of aware of both the fact that women of color, Black women especially, are disinvested in, but also the impact of that disinvestment. Like we can say, Black women get, less than, that we get around sort of $2, of I'm messing up the statistic here, but we get less than 6% of philanthropic funding of the total philanthropic funding that happens. And there's a cost for that, right? And so as a funder, I think one of the things that we have to look at is, what is that cost? And what is that cost, not just to organizations, but what does that cost to individual leaders? What are people having to give up to do this work? And, when I said to folks, once we found out, that Roe was likely to be overturned, I'm like, we did this. Women of color have been telling us what we need for years and years, and women have been out here doing this work. But the cost of not actively investing in women of color's leadership means that we're here having these conversations that we don't have to have. So I wonder, to some degree, and just asking a little bit more around what it would mean to have a world that was built around your needs. What would that mean? And what would you have to be able to actually do the organizing work as you envision it, sort of not necessarily cutting to do the work?
Well, I think part of that too is you would have more time to do the things that you need to do. I think one of the issues is we spend so much time trying to figure out how we're going to fund what we need to do that sometimes we're not able to get it all done. And also having that support from others. I think the fact that we can do so much with a nickel that people think that we must be okay. And so we have to let them know that we still really need your support, and your funding. And we need you to help us open the way to what we need to do. The doors are still closed to us in so many areas. And so in addition to the money, we have to get those doors open. We have to get before the right people, and we have to convince them to listen. So, if we could do all of those things and have the money, we would be set.
And I'd like to give you a tangible example. Like, I really thought about it, and I really want to give you a tangible example. So, for instance, the investment in investing, say, in my crew, right? Just as an example, the money that's invested in me as a Black woman in building my crew is me addressing an immediate need versus addressing a capital, right, investment. So I don't get investment to address the capital stuff. So I like to buy a building, right, to look at the long term, to look at the 5-10 year investment. I can't do that right now because I have to look at what are the immediate things that I have to address. I can't look at capital investments because what I get is perhaps a $10,000 investment, maybe a $15,000 investment, whereas my counterparts, are getting, $1 million investment, or whatever you envision what that capital investment is to build a building, to create that after school investment. Black women also are, when you say, I want to do an after school program where it is a very short term investment rather than saying, let me create the infrastructure that has a much more longer term impact. That is the very difference in creating lasting impact. We don't have that benefit, whereas Black women traditionally have said, well, we just gonna do it out of the home front, right? Or we're gonna look at an in-kind donation and figure out where we can leverage, somebody that's already in the community. We're gonna paint something, we'll figure out a school, we'll do this or we'll do that. And it takes a lot longer in order to be able to leverage what is existing in the community versus saying, well, you know what, we want to create something that is, that they are receptive to coming to. And, like, this is what we invested in our community to say we're addressing, community blight or all these other things. It's capital investments. Like that's a huge thing that you can't do with the $2 that you're saying that we invest in Black women in these nonprofit organizations.
100%. Thank you for saying that, as a matter of fact, because it leads me into my next question for you, and because I want to make sure that we're constantly sort of leaving the conversation from a place of power. But before I say that, I do want to add just one thing, because I know that Black women, we've been socialized to ask for just enough to not be an inconvenience. Just enough to not invite additional scrutiny. And I think for us to be able to really envision a world that's built around our needs, we have to stop seeing our needs as indulgences to some degree. We deserve to live just as good of a life as anyone else. We deserve to do this work from a place of healing and from wholeness. And that means sort of reframing what we think is enough. And I say now, if you need 10, don't ask for 5, ask for 20. So we need to make sure that our organizations are resourced, that our wellness is resourced constantly, because what happens is we get to the finish line and then we have to lay it down and we can't go any further. And I'm tired of seeing our leaders fall down. So thank you for those. Thank you for those statements. The one thing, and I apologize for not calling on each of you individually. I can't see you. Remember, my tech won't allow me to be great. So I'm going to just let you jump in here. But I want to, 2 things. All right. If you could, each of you just quickly go around and tell me, one, what do we need? What do Black women need from our allies to show up for us? And what's your message to Black women? What do you want to leave with our panelists, with our invited guests? What do you want to leave each of our panelists? What note do we want to leave on?
So when it comes to allies, I feel that we need people who are not going to just sit on the sidelines and watch and be silent. We need people who are willing to stick out their necks and call out their own people who are doing these wrongs, who are, their friends, their coworkers, whomever it is, and not just come to you after the fact and say, "Oh my gosh, that's so terrible. I'm so sorry." And I have a friend who was in a situation, and it was actually an ally who called the situation to the attention of the higher ups. And that's what made me think like it had to be really serious for somebody from a outside of the situation. She never said anything to come to the forefront and speak out on it. And we need more people like that.
Okay, well, I'll speak. For me, I want our allies to not have ulterior motives, because I find sometimes we get help, but there's a reason why they're helping us. So the ulterior motive, just help us because we are in that space where it's that time, and not have an expectation of something else.
Right, I agree with that because we want people who are going to advocate and first of all, listen to what we're saying that we need and what we need for them to do to help us. Sometimes they have the allies may have their own agenda or their own thoughts about what's really needed, but we need them to listen to us and to give us assistance and not try to take it over. Because I find that occurs sometimes as well. They say, "Oh, well, look, we know what you need to do to get it done," and then they want to take it over. No, we need you to help us and, participate, but don't try to take it over.
Great.
For me, it's having access to information and resources at the same time as everybody else. Sometimes I think I'm coming across a pot of gold when I find out something, and it has been out there for a while. So sometimes you're coming on the back end of something that's ending. But to be able to have that information that can help your organization or the resources, by the time you find out about it, it's been drained or it's coming to an end. So just being able to, when everybody else has that initial foot in the door, that we have that same access to that particular program or those resources at the same time.
And I'm basically going to echo a lot of what you've already said. A lot of it is truly understanding and a self-reflection that you may have heard the surface of the story, but you don't truly know the full story. Sometimes you hear glimpses of it and you think but you don't truly know. I think that's what I see a lot of times. And it is also, it can be condescending. And I would say to our allies to really do some self-reflection. A lot of times there is a lot of identification, like, oh, I identify with the story and I understand it. You don't. Listen, be respectful, and be real thoughtful about, you heard it, listen to it, be respectful, but then you still don't understand the depth of it, because again, I said it a little bit earlier, but there is a lot of trauma. There is a considerable amount, and there is still yet that we are learning about ourselves. So there is more that you can learn about who we are as Black women.
Thank you. Thank you all for that. We are just a tiny bit over time. I am super thrilled that I was able to make it, even despite, the tech trying to hold me back. I look forward to being in conversation with you all. Thank you for doing the work that you do. It literally sort of is the dam in between the tide. So thank you so much. And I will turn it back over. Have a great evening, everyone.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Woo!
Ooh, that was good.
That was so good, right? On so many levels. And I tell you, one of the things that I love about my people, my friends, is that we have these are the conversations that we have. I hope the world recognizes that they're getting a glimpse. And like when y'all wonder what Black women do when we talk about, when we try to figure stuff out and how we navigate, that's what that looked like. So no longer dream, wonder, trying to figure that out. That's what it looks like. Keerson, like, what did you think about the things that they were saying? Like, the way, what we need, the way we need allies to show up, what we need from community. What were your thoughts?
Definitely the conversation about allyship is something that a lot of times I have these conversations with my girlfriends where we're talking about, what can our white counterparts, our white friends do, because they want to help. And I have a lot of friends that are like, I want to help. I want to be boots on the ground. But a lot of times it's just, y'all got to know what to do and what not to do, where to let us lead. Right. And you guys follow. A lot of times you see it, especially with like my millennial generation and the Gen Z's generation, a lot of times the allies take over the cause and we're sitting there like, what about us? We're here too. This is for us, by us. We own some FUBU stuff, like y'all need to let us do what we need to do. So it's so good to see like Black women be able to really explain what we need. Because a lot of times it's hard to say it in an eloquent way without saying fall back. So they definitely gave me some talking points to use in the future.
There you go. Speaking of what we need, Keerson, we need everybody when this conference is over, this part of the conference is over. We need you all to go and watch the first episode of Detangling the South, episode 1, New Orleans. We're going to, at the end of the conference, after this next panel, which y'all get ready. Y'all thought that last panel was great. It was. We have an equally amazing panel coming up with equally brilliant. And one thing I also have to say is like, I want y'all to also recognize the vulnerability that these Black women are coming up with, that they are, giving you a glimpse into their soul and heart with a hope that we are building a new paradigm, with the hope that they're seen and valued. And so, really appreciating that. So at the end of the next amazing panel on mentoring Black girls, we're going to log off and then hop right back on all the same channels because we are going to be watching the first episode, Detangling the South. This is not the one that Keerson is in, but Keerson, you were in episode 2. No, you're in episode 3, Selma. So I know you're in Birmingham, but we go from Birmingham to Selma. So episode 3, you will see Keerson. But tonight, episode 1, New Orleans, and you all will hear the stories of Dookie Chase and Leah Chase, Dookie Chase restaurant headed by Leah Chase. Ashe, you heard from Asali today, Cultural Arts Center. You'll see her from other Black women who ran for office and won. Because, ain't nothing like winning from office. And speaking of winning, before we begin this panel on mentoring Black girls, there's one member of our cohort that does a special kind of mentorship with some really special Black girls in our community. And, it comes from her own perspective, right? Her experience in life. And so I want to just center their conversation with her experience and her talk. And so, we're going to have her and then we're going to go right into mentoring Black girls.
I am Dominique Johnson, founder of Daughters Beyond Incarceration, creator of Parenting from Prison. I love being a Black woman. I love my features. I love my hair. I have the strength and the power to push through things that society throws against me. For that reason alone, I'm honored to be a Black woman. Imagine being a 7-year-old child and you wake up Christmas morning, 1989, to see snow. You're so excited about the snow. that you go to the window early in the morning just to see it. And when you open the window, you see a dead body. That image has replayed in my head since I was 7 years old. That's the negative narrative that prison puts in your head. Society wants you to believe that parents who are incarcerated cannot parent from prison. I'm here to tell you differently. My father is serving a life sentence. He's on his 40th year because he was mistakenly identified as someone who's 6 feet tall, roughly about 6'2", over 200 pounds. My dad is about 5'8", maybe 180 pounds. The state of Louisiana ripped my life apart because my dad looked like another black man. We created a program called Daughters Beyond Incarceration that works to enhance the lives of girls with incarcerated parents in low-income communities in Louisiana. But more importantly, we created Parenting from Prison to help teachers, educators, stakeholders who work with those children to teach them cultural competency on how to shift the paradigms to be able to effectively work with people who treat children with incarcerated parents. Because children with incarcerated parents, we need to learn from people just like us. If you are struggling with parental incarceration, you have to understand that society wants you to believe that you cannot navigate this world and have a closely knit relationship with your incarcerated parent. But you can. If that child wants to have a relationship with that incarcerated parent, anyone who's in that child's care should help encourage it. And that's what my family did. The biggest struggle that families who are impacted by incarceration deal with is the cost associated with high phone fees. It's the cost associated with traveling to visit your loved ones. But most importantly, it's the cost of not having your incarcerated loved ones there with you. You see, growing up, we're told so many different stories about what our incarcerated loved one is in prison for, but never thinking, I need to hear this from the person that's incarcerated. But if you have no experience or no knowledge working with someone who's currently or formerly incarcerated, then how would you know that it's a struggle for them to explain to you why they are wrongfully arrested or why they're arrested for any reason? Because it is. My dad struggled for 25 years to tell me that a white woman accused him of rape. But when I was old enough to read the transcript, and I realized that there was no DNA evidence, there were no eyewitnesses, so how could you convict my father? Because the victim said, well, they all look alike, I'll just pick number 3. And so you live that life with the narrative that things are not fair for Black people. And so what my dad did, he encouraged me to create a program that teaches people how to strategically teach children who are impacted by incarceration. And that's teaching them how to deal with their triggers. That's teaching them how to deal with their emotions. And that's also teaching them how to learn from people who are currently and formerly incarcerated, understanding the way their mind works. Because if you are able to navigate life while incarcerated and you come home and you're able to build a stable life, you are extremely powerful. Just think about that. So for a minute, you have society telling you that, yes, we understand that incarceration leaves a negative impact on people. And you know that when you incarcerate a person, you incarcerate the entire family, but there's no accountability. There's no one taking accountability for the children that they leave behind when they incarcerate a person. That's where we come into play. We help people become advocates so that they can fight the system to change the way people who are impacted by incarceration operate.
Oof. Every time, I hear Dominique talk, every time we're in community, she shows up every time, every time there's some, she right there, she bringing her girls, right there, whatever it is. It says Thea's got a crazy idea. She's right there, right? Like crazy ideas. But like, cause she's a brilliant, idiot herself, and like her words and her thoughts, and it's always everything. And so, really, a true blessing to hear from her. And so, I just want to thank her. And you're about to hear from her again on this next panel.
Yes.
So, organizing Black girls. I'm a mama, Keerson. I got 3 Black girls myself. I got 1 son, 3 daughters, and organizing them, as a family is a thing. I'm going to shout out Taylor, because my son, I'm always talking about Black women and girls, and Taylor's always like, I'm here too. Also part of the reason why there's, 1 member on our panel, Dr. Alicia Reed, who also is organizing, does some incredible things with her Black son, as a mom, as a newly single mom, raising this beautiful Black boy, and just really giving him so many true gifts from her perspective. So, we're going to get into a real contextualized conversation in a little bit, but the moderator for this panel is my friend, Fanika Miller. Now, I tell you, Fanika is one of those friends, that you can call on, and she calls on you, and you do stuff together. She is with the Southern Black Girls and Women's Consortium, and so we've done a couple of things together. There's a couple of spaces where we've connected. A couple, she's also, one of my friends outside of New Orleans that we've navigated with. But we did something this summer. We did a little bit of a road trip. We went with Black Voters Matter on a reverse freedom ride. I just wanted to sit there with that. A reverse freedom ride from New Orleans to DC. We hit hotels. I think we jumped on in North Carolina because I had something to do. We jumped on in North Carolina and got to ride with them. And when I showed up with my 2 daughters, we really had no plan. Our only plan was to show up. We didn't know what hotel was where, nothing. And within 2 hours, they had an Auntie Fanika that was feeding them, giving them a place to stay. I'm saying? Giving them T-shirts. I don't know what they kept coming up with some stuff. And now they wear the T-shirt, I'm a Southern Black girl because Auntie Fanika gave them a T-shirt that says I'm a Southern Black girl. And so really excited to have her moderate this panel. Really excited to bring up these women who are doing some incredible work. Michelle Craig is doing some incredible work with dismantling ideas on corporate work with Black women and girls. Dominique's doing incredible work. Y'all about to get another word. So excited to bring in Tending Our Gardens and Mentoring Black Girls panel. They coming up in a second.
Well, while we wait, just remember the first episode of Detangling Our Roots premiered
tonight at 8:30. And I will tell you, the exciting part about having this thing premiere tonight, because of this, is we decided that we're gonna, we have 2 films that we're gonna be showing throughout the conference, right? And so we've got this one, Detangling the South, and on Sunday we're gonna be showing our Free to Be Free film that's been going all over. Girl, we global. Okay, we decided to tell this story of Black women and girls and natural hairstyles and what is happening with the discrimination that's around our hair. The reality is that natural hair discrimination it has been around for quite some time, and there's a thing called people have heard of the Crown Act, and the Crown Act is trying to put together a law that pushes back against the discrimination of Black women and girls' hair, and that is what we've been doing. And so we put together a film, a story about those efforts, many stories about that coming from Black women across the state. We started off in New Orleans with Gus Bennett and took a bunch of pictures, lovely pictures of Black women and girls, and made 3 films about that. And then we went to Shreveport and Baton Rouge and did the same thing. Interviewed those women, took pictures, we put together a whole mini movie. And really, the whole point of the mini movie is for us to organize. But what happened is people around the world believed in it too. So this film has been in Toronto. It's been in Paris. It's been in Toronto, Paris, California. There's one more place out the country though. Toronto, Paris, London. We just won Loyola Film Fest Loyola Feminist Film Fest. So we'll be showing that film next Friday, getting our awards, we got coins for telling these Black women's stories.
Fancy, okay.
Fancy. We do things big around here, you know what I'm saying? As Shonda said, we ain't moving around broke right now, you know what I'm saying? We gotta move, as if we've already won. And so really excited about what that film is doing, what that film is creating, and we're gonna, move things forward. So, you know what? We are going to go ahead and get this panel started. I will take, I'm gonna try my hat, see about bringing some of the ow, look at that. What? Welcome, ladies. I have been talking y'all up, so just so y'all know, Day's ready for this conversation. Me and Keerson, we gonna go wait backstage. We're gonna, listen to the magic, and y'all are in good hands with my dear friend Fanika. So love you guys so much.
Hey everyone.
Hi everyone. Hello. All right, can we hear each other? I'm here trying to take a picture of ourselves right quick. How are y'all?
Good. It's Friday.
Yes. Friday.
Thank God it's Friday, right?
We made it.
Right? Yes. Because that's what Black women do. We make it.
We make it. That's right.
All right. Well, welcome to the Mentoring Black Girls panel. As our guests can see out there in the internet verse, we have some beautiful and dynamic women who are joining us for a rich discussion about Black girls. And before I hop in and introduce myself and allow the ladies to introduce themselves, I just want to give a hand clap to Citizen She and all of the folks who have put together this amazing women's conference, because what I've heard so far has just been dynamic, soul stirring, and so necessary. And I just think that sometimes we just have to sit in that space, right? Where we can be encouraged and poured into and really talk about and amplify and elevate the things that are affecting us and our girls and our future. And so just shout out to them. Just a moment of affirmation for them. Yes. Awesome. Well, my sister said it, right? My name is Fanika Miller. I am a former program manager for the Southern Black Girls and Women's Consortium. I am an organizer, an activist, an entrepreneur, a nonprofit founder who got my start mentoring girls, putting Black girls in the room with their elected officials so they can understand how to advocate for themselves. I created a space for what I needed as a little girl, right? And that is often what we do as we develop into women ourselves. So I want to take a moment to introduce everybody. We'll start with Dr. Alicia Reed, followed by Miss Michelle, and then Dominique. And just tell us a little bit about yourself, your organization, and how you got into this work.
Sure, I'll start. My name is Dr. Alicia Reed. I am a pharmacist and founder of Fly with Alicia Reed, which is basically first love yourself. And the mission was to empower women to put themselves first. And of course, we know as Black women, we want to save the world and we want to save everyone, but we have to make sure that we put ourselves first before we go out and do all of that work. I'm very passionate about sharing that message with all Black women, mothers, daughters, friends, wives, everyone who has a role. Just want them to know that they come first. And I know we are taught that we don't a lot of times, but just being able to change that narrative is something that I'm very, very passionate about. So when I found out about this, I had to sign up because I wanted to be a part of helping to break that generational curse that we have. Happy to be here.
Thank you, sis. Thank you. All right, Michelle.
Well, good evening. I am Michelle Craig. I am an attorney, corporate attorney. I've been practicing law for about 20 years now, goodness. I am the founder of Diversity. And Diversity is an organization that was started because myself and a few other lawyers were in rooms that we were uncomfortable in, that we didn't know things about. We were in spaces where people were networking over tea and over golf. And there was a space that we just didn't get information about, not because our parents didn't do whatever they needed to do, however they could. It's just that there were gaps there. And over the years, we fill those gaps in, but we realized that that was the case all over different professions, for lawyers, for doctors, for archaeologists, for artists. And the way to fill in those gaps for all of the women that came behind us was to get us in the room and say, these are the things that we experienced in corporate America. The good things, the bad things, the ups, the downs. These things are the truths about these professions. And it wasn't to dissuade anybody. It was just to make sure they had the knowledge that we may not have had, so that they wouldn't have all the tribulations that we may have gone through. We wanted to close the gap in every profession. And so the tea happens in December, the big tea, where we sit down with all of the professions and all of the young ladies and have really true, honest, what did you do? What do you wish you had known type of conversations with them, give them as much information as possible to make the best choices in life.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And you don't look like you've been serving 20 years, but
thank you.
Yes. Dominique.
Hey everyone, I am Dominique Johnson. I'm a mother of 4, I'm a wife, and I am also a daughter with an incarcerated father. My father was incarcerated in April of 1982. I was born in November of 1982. So the first time I met my father was behind bars. And he is on his 40th year of a life sentence. When I graduated high school in the year 2000, right after the state track meet, I won the 400 meter dash, became the fastest girl in the state for the 400 meter dash. And my dad knew immediately when we talked that next day, he critiqued my entire race. And, I asked him what I had been asking him all my life, when are you coming home? And he continued to say soon. And so I got tired. I felt like I was neglected. I was a badass. And so my entire high school, I fought because I was so hurt behind not knowing the truth, especially behind my father. And so we didn't talk my entire collegiate career. I went to Alabama State on a track scholarship, and I didn't talk to my father at all. So the next time we talked was in 2007, and it was to say, you have a grandson. His name is Kingston. And we had to have that heart-to-heart conversation to where he realized what him not being honest had done to me. And so in 2015 or 16, I went to Loyola's symposium about incarceration. And just like Nia said, I spoke up. The governor said something about children with incarcerated parents. And I asked him, I said, well, how do you know? How do you know when we experience it? Are you impacted by parental incarceration? He said no. And so when I said that to the governor, they asked me to write an article for Loyola's Law Review. And that's when everything took off. My dad and I started Daughters Beyond Incarceration, and we really just wanted a way to connect girls with their incarcerated parents to build a better relationship. And we started off with 2 girls that I mentored through Volunteers of America whose parents was incarcerated, and started our own thing. And now we have over 150 girls in our program.
Amazing.
Parenting from Prison came because we realized there are teachers that don't know how to deal with children impacted by incarceration, specifically the ones that come in and they stay for a year or 2 and then they leave and they don't know the damage that they're doing. There may be some correctional institutions that don't know how to support them, or state department, or local city leaders that are working with children and don't know how to recognize or support children impacted by parental incarceration. And so to help my dad bypass time, we worked to create strategic plans on how to elevate cultural competence on the educational side for helping children impacted by parental incarceration.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your work. And that is an amazing and a perfect framework for the conversation in this next question, because we know that policies, public systems, and practices continue to negatively impact Black girls in the South and across this country. So before I ask this first question, I want to frame it with a poem that I found that was written by some students. It's called Black Girl Alternative. Girls today, but women of tomorrow, full of ambition in a world of hatred and sorrow, so stereotyped, so judged, nothing but false hopes. Tell me, how do us little Black women learn to cope? So the first question is, in your opinion, and I'll circle back to Dr. Reed, what are Black girls most in need of?
A safe space, a space where they can talk freely and not be judged and not be afraid of, what someone else might say or do. I think that is really important. And I know we say that, there are a lot of Black women out there that they can talk to, but they really need to feel safe and feel like they can trust someone.
Anybody else? What do Black girls most need, in your opinion?
One of the things I think that they most need is someone, particularly women, who are the personification of their hopes and their dreams. They need to see it so they can be it. I think that is so very important, so that they know that it's all possible, even when there are setbacks.
For me, the Black girls that I serve, they need opportunities to feel intuitive. They need opportunities to learn and grow. And for the life of me, I need people to understand that they need to be at the table. And so just like what Dr. Reed said and what Michelle said, they need all of those things. But the girls that I serve, if you ask me what they need, and if I promise you, if one of them was around, they would say, well, she's not a teenager, so she can't tell you what I need. But just through talking to them, because we just went to Alabama for the Bloody Sunday, they want to feel included. And they want to be a part of the decision making that is happening around their life. They want to be able to express themselves without being punished or without being shamed. Or they just want to be recognized as human, I think.
Yes.
We look at them as, teenagers or Black girls, and they are really just human.
It is so interesting that you say that, because during my time at the consortium, that was the number one thing that we said we wanted to do. We wanted to disrupt traditional philanthropy, but we wanted to center the voices of Black girls in the way that, the funding was distributed, right? So that they could create what it was that needed to be invested in. because Black girls across the South are under-resourced. And when you're under-resourced and when you don't see the representation that looks like you or folks at the table who are advocating for you, and if we don't make space for girls to advocate for themselves, right, then we do a disservice to our girls. We can have and create all the mentoring programs in the world that we want, but if we don't include their voices in the process, we do a disservice to ourselves. How do we provide that safe place for them, right? What does safety look like, Dr. Reed?
Just putting together organizations like what we're doing now is a perfect example, because they need to see us in action. They need to see us creating these outlets for them. I know a lot of people talk about it and say, you know, this is what we should be doing for young girls. This is, you know, this is the program that we're going to create, but they need to see it in action. You know, in order to believe that it's available to them, they need to see it. So what we're doing right now is making it a reality so that they know that these are women. We are women who are not only speaking it, we're doing it. Because, you know, a lot of girls like, oh, that's what you said you're going to do. Or, you know, they say they're going to help us, or they say they're going to listen, but you got to do it. They need to see you doing it and bring them along.
Yes. Don't leave them out. That's right. Don't leave them out.
And you have to recognize their experiences as skills. Like you have to recognize their lived experiences as skills. I mean, it is crazy how many times that I learn from them, whether good or bad, and it's not something that they are taught like on the job. It's something that I learned from them just based off their lived experiences. And we have to start recognizing their lived experiences as an opportunity for us to learn and grow just right along with them.
And I think also recognizing that their lived experiences provide the alternatives for all of the things that they can do in the world. Like those experiences are the foundation of making huge changes or making the life that they want, and encouraging them that if they decide on X life, using the experiences, the knowledge, the education, everything, it's okay to change course and decide on Y life. Okay, I've done this. I want to do this as well. Creating a safe space means letting them know that it is okay to change your mind. It's okay to look up and say, you know what, enough of this, or this wasn't what I thought it was. I'm going to change. It's not too late. It's not too much. It's not too little. You can do whatever it is you want to do, and providing that safe space to say that and show them that, I think is so vitally important. And as Dr. Reed said, that's what these organizations are designed to do.
And I also wanted to add, we talk about letting them see us do it, right? See us, you know, in these positions, but they need to know what we've been through. To get to these positions. You know, it's you know, they look at the outcome. They look at, you know, and I share publicly. I mean, I was in a domestic violence relationship for 8 years throughout my entire college pharmacy school. And no one really knew. But it's like I'm able to speak to, when I identify young girls who are in these types of situations, I can spot it and pick up on it. And they don't understand why, because they don't see that in me. You know, they say, oh, wow, I mean, I would have never thought. Well, you know, everybody has a story. And everybody doesn't want to share it. But by sharing it, you let, you know, these young girls know that this is what happened. I was able to work through it, change my life, you know, achieve the things that goals that I wanted to achieve. So just to let them know that everybody doesn't have that cookie cutter life that they think we all have. And I think
no one does.
Nobody.
Right.
No one does.
They see, you know, they look at us and they see, you know, well, she's an attorney, or, you know, she has this organization. They don't know what we've been through to get there. And I really think that as Black women, we have to really share that too. A lot of people don't want to talk about the ugly parts.
That's right.
But that's how they learn. That's how they learn.
That's how they learn.
Exactly. That's what the word, it says we overcome by the word and the testimony right? So whatever spirit is, whatever form that you get your strength from, and the testimony. I had to break that generational trauma for my daughter as well. And, my daughter's 27. And one day she sat down and she said, well, Mama, we don't talk about what has happened in our family. So I didn't have a framework to learn from, right? And so as we're out here saving other people in our respective roles and advocating for other folks, we still have to be able to give to our children in our household and the young girls that we're mentoring an accurate depiction of what it is to be a Black woman who's overcome, right? Who's overcome. As I think about ACEs and adverse childhood experiences that girls deal with, and then we carry that into different relationship dynamics. One word that I leaned into, but as I became older, the word resilient, right? Black women, we're so resilient. I'm so tired of that. Exactly. How can we break that? How do we change the narrative around Black women bearing the weight of everything and showing up still at 100% for our girls? How do we do that?
I read, I think a quote or something I may have shared, and it talked about like, I dream of a day where I don't have to be resilient. I don't want to be patted on the back for how many hits I've taken. Right. I want rest. I want ease. And just by reading that, it's like we're always, oh, you're strong, you can handle it. You're so resilient, you can come back from everything. What if I don't want to be resilient today?
Yes, I
don't want to be strong today.
And I want to hug today. That's what I want to do.
So what
I want to cry today. I want to cry today. But it's just
redefine it. Just redefine it.
Yes.
And that's basically what we did at Daughters Beyond Incarceration. We redefined it because we were the same way. And so what we did was we told people, when you come into this circle, we respect tears. We respect open emotions. We respect 4-day work weeks. We respect it when you say, you know what, I can't go and I need a break. Because you are in a world now where people are okay with setting boundaries. So just I would just recommend anybody just work to redefine it, because if you don't, somebody else will define it for you, and you will be 80 years old with somebody telling you you're so powerful. You'd be like, I'm tired.
I'm good at saying no.
I'm getting better at it.
I'm
getting better at it.
You can't carry all that weight.
No, I love what you said about we respect tears in this space.
Yes.
Because we don't always get that space when we're moving through white society. Right.
I cry all the time.
I cried today before I got on this panel, y'all.
Yeah, that's right.
Like in my rooms in solitude. And we have to be able to share freely with our girls. You can show up as a new Black girl every day on the outside, right? But you still might be dealing with that stuff on the inside that may keep you, from being free, right?
Yep. And I tell that to so many people, like whenever they see me, they send a video with an incarcerated parent reconnecting with their child. I have to tell them, I'm still healing too. Like my father is currently incarcerated. So as happy as I am for this person to be reunited with their parent, I am still struggling, y'all. Like my dad is sick and he is still behind bars. So thank you for sharing this person's amazing story with me, but can you let me just share my little circle? Because it still hurts. And even though I'm helping the girls, I tell them too that, look, I'm walking this walk right here with you. So
Michelle, I want to ask this question to you because you're in diversity, and I love that logo, by the way. Little coffee with the little smoke coming up, sprinkle that magic. As you're in spaces, you're actually teaching other people, one, how to receive Black girls that's walking into that room that we're mentoring, right? Do you believe that Black girls feel like they have the ability to dream?
I do believe that we, Black girls have the ability to dream. I just want to feel more Black girls who believes in that dream actually coming true. I think like the dreams are all out there. And there are a lot of Black girls that I meet that have the dream, they have the plan, they're gonna do it, there's no stopping them. But there are a lot of Black girls that I meet that I hear it in their voice that they think this is my dream, and they say this is my dream, but I don't think that they believe it themselves. So we try to get to the root of that. What is the thing that you think is stopping you? Because usually there's somebody in this room that had that thing stopping them, and it didn't stop them. So I want to introduce you to that person so that you know that there's a way up and around this thing to actually hold your dream and be that dream.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How do Black girls show up knowing that, internalizing that in white dominated society though? What does that look like? What is that? How do we coach them through that, navigate in that space?
I think that we help them navigate that space by giving them the tools to be comfortable in those spaces, by bringing them in those spaces. And it's not that any space is better or that they should be in it all the time, or they should get in a space and think, oh, I have to stay here and I don't like it. But I want every Black girl to be in these corporate spaces if that's where they want to be before they get in them, so they can walk in the room and say, I've been here before. This is nothing new to me. I see it all. I've done it all. I know what to do here. I know what to do and still be my authentic self here while being completely comfortable where I am. I think that's the goal, because it gives them the choice of staying here, not because I'm uncomfortable, because I don't like it here, or leaving there and doing something different.
Absolutely. I love that. Anyone else want to add anything to that?
I love affirmations, and I never realized the power of it. Manifestation, and then just speaking it into existence. And I think girls need to know that it's important to pay attention to what you say and how you speak, because a lot of times we say that we can't do something, or something will never happen to us. That'll never be my life. And just making sure that they change that and say, why can't that be you? And allow them to recite affirmations. And I mean, I used to think it was crazy, like, why are people saying that? But that is how I operate now. And it's like I believe it and I say it, and it's not magic, it's not gonna like happen overnight, but just knowing that those things are possible. And us allowing them to know that things are possible for them, that someone can't tell you that it can't be done. You can figure out a way. And growing up as a young girl, a lot of people, especially I'm 42, so growing up as a young girl, I was told, oh, you can't be that, oh, you can't do that. Now we have a African American vice president. So it's like, at that time you're thinking like, oh, Black women will never do that. And if I would have listened to that, then I probably wouldn't have goals and aspirations that I have. So I think it's very important to let them know that they can dream, and that it isn't a fairy tale, and it isn't far off. That and then in the same token, work with them. Like, I find that if you're going to mentor someone and you tell them, ask them what their dreams are, help them get there. I'm not just asking you just to ask you, okay, what do you want to do? I'm not going to just wish on it with you and, write it out, but I want to be there for them to help them get there. And that's what being a mentor is really all about.
Speaking of that, how do we affirm, because that's so powerful, right? Walking you through how to get there. Sometimes in our walking through Black girls, we only are walking through a certain kind of Black girl. So how do we reach all Black girls, right? From the lowest socioeconomic to the highest? Because even privileged or wealthier Black girls experience racism and barriers in the same way. How are we reaching every Black girl and affirming them?
And I can speak to that with my situation with domestic violence. I grew up in a 2-parent household. I went to school. My dad was very involved. So people wondered, okay, well, how did you end up in that situation? You came, from a 2-parent household. Your parents worked. You had everything. You went to a good school. But I didn't have anybody to really talk to about what was going on because I was overlooked because she has a great home life. She can't have any issues. So you saying, trying to reach all girls makes sense because sometimes the girls that we consider having a great home life and having access to everything need to be reached too. So I say that, it just needs to be a program created for all girls and where you can meet them at whatever issue that they are having. And I believe that that's something that I needed, which is why I'm so passionate about creating a space for women and girls.
And so what we do, we create opportunities for all girls who want to learn.
Yeah.
So the one thing that we recently did was my dad and I piloted a policy program. And we are putting 5 girls in position to learn from Judge Nandi Campbell, Judge Angel, Will Snowden, Will Harrell, my currently incarcerated father, Nia Weeks, and Adat Goodley from Southern University Law Center. And 5 girls that earn $500 a month. And they will learn the criminal justice process. They'll learn the legislative process. They'll learn jury selection. And they'll also learn how a bill is created, how a law is passed. And so DBI, we passed our first bill in 2020, which created the Louisiana Council for Children of Incarcerated Parents and Caregivers. And so we created that voice for them. And so the only thing that we need people to understand is, for the most part, every person in New Orleans or in Louisiana is impacted by incarceration. It may not be you directly from your parents, but your parents' parents. Your parents may have a relative. And somewhere down the line, that person's incarceration has impacted your life. You just have to learn your family history, like we talked about, and you have to figure it out how. But not only that, you also have to understand how it has impacted Black people's lives in general. And so whoever applies will get that firsthand knowledge. They'll learn from those people, judges, attorneys. They'll learn how to create systems and how to be comfortable in those spaces. And we open that up to all Black girls. And so, just like Dr. Reed said, we partner with the collaborative group, and there is the Butterfly Project. There is Navigate NOLA, and there's so many other Black female-led nonprofits. And we partner with all of these girls. We put all of these girls in the same spaces so they can see and learn from girls from different walks of life. Because just like Dr. Reed said, you can learn a lot from a person that was born in a 2-person household, and that person can learn a lot from a person that was born in a single-parent household.
I love it.
And your lives change. I mean,
yes,
almost 3 years ago, I was married, and I had a family, and now I'm a single mom. With a Black boy. So my entire dynamic has changed. So I'm looking to, the circle that I had. I'm looking for other women now who are single moms with sons. So it's totally changed. So your life can change
at any moment.
In any moment. So you don't know what you may need or what resources you might need.
I love it. Y'all, this conversation is so good. We're going to run out of time. Oh my God. I love it. I love the sister circle. I love the sharing. I love the spirit in which you all are approaching the work. 1 or 2 words to describe what is your message of love to Black girls? I won't limit it to 2 words, I promise. What is your message of love to Black girls?
You are enough.
I would say love yourself first. Love yourself first. You come first.
And I would say you are capable, and there is no dream that's too big.
Ooh, dear Black girl.
Don't be scared of the zeros, girls. Dream in many zeros. Dream in many zeros.
And
I
you
love it.
and most importantly, Black girls and Black women, you tell your story.
Mm.
Because if you don't, they're gonna tell it and they're gonna make thousands of dollars, millions of dollars off your story. You tell your story. If you need help telling your story, find somebody in your community that's doing the work. But you can tell your own story and make your money. Get your bag off your own story, baby.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, this has been amazing. Thank y'all for allowing me to share space. Thank Nia and Citizen She for creating this space of community where we can all join. Let's continue to do the work. I celebrate you all. I see you, your full, whole, authentic little Black girl that lives inside of a grown woman's self. And I love you. And so love and light, ladies.
Yes.
And we hope you all enjoyed the discussion. Connect with these ladies. If y'all would drop your social media handles in the comments so that folks can connect with you on Twitter or on Instagram and on social media. Y'all retweet the comments from Citizen She on their Twitter page and Instagram page so that we can stay connected and keep the conversation going. And
Oh man, you know, it's so amazing too, Keerson, as a mama, like I said, of 3 Black girls. My son Taylor, I see you, boo. I see you. I love you. But as a mom of 3 Black girls, the reality is that all of those women have been in community with my daughters, and they have tended my own garden. And so having a conversation about tending the gardens of our girls and tending the gardens inside ourselves was just incredible. So hope you all got all those nuggets and all those blessings. So I'm just grateful for them for being so vulnerable and having that conversation and being so brilliant.
Yes, Dr. Alicia Reed. Oh my God.
So
you were feeding me over here. I was like,
Alicia Reed. I've said it, but I like to make sure. But yes, you're right, Dr. Alicia Reed. Her. Yeah. And Michelle Craig. As a fellow attorney, her and I have brought together. She's been all those pieces to me. Corporate attorney with me, but also a friend and confidant. A very nurturing, loving person. When you talk about somebody that has a heart for children, in that space, you created a space for young girls and very intentional and committed to it, even when others weren't. She stayed steadfast and committed. And just Dominique, that beautiful. And Fanika just moderating that was brilliant. Yeah. So, segueing a little bit, we are ending this part of the conversation. So this part of the conference today is about to end. You got a couple minutes left. So what I'm going to ask you all to do is we're going to put a link in the chat. Click the link and it'll take you to the Citizen She United page, and you will go there to watch the first episode of Detangling the South, New Orleans. Woo, woo. I will also tell you, if you you feeling froggy and you want to watch it, this is your opportunity. Because after this, we're pulling it off. So it's not going to sit there. It's not going to linger. You're not going to be able to go back and, find it. You'll find it somewhere in the universe at some point. But if you want to catch that first episode now, got to click the link. And so go. It'll be broadcast on the Citizen She United page on the 4910 Rosalie. Also, wait, pause. I want to shout out 4910 Rosalie Productions right quick. Y'all see all this beautiful Black girl magic happening. What y'all don't know is there's a brother in the background controlling the doing all the things, running. If y'all can see the YC and him running around trying to figure out all the pieces, no matter what's going on. And I will tell you, one thing that is really special about this brother is that I met him 3 years ago and started talking about the pieces that I was trying. You have a dream, and then you try to find a way to put it together. And every time I've asked, the answer is, let's make it happen. And I don't know if people have been talking about this conference and hyping me up, and I appreciate the hype. But the reality is that the person that was burning the midnight oil, when I say midnight oil, I'm talking about, I don't think this brother has slept in 2 weeks. Making sure all these pieces are together. So really want to shout out Damian D. Smith, my business partner with Detangled, but also the creative director, founder, and visionary behind 4910 Rosalie Productions, which is doing all the technical pieces of this conference. So, if y'all have any questions about where Black men stand in support of Black women, just know there's a Black man right now in the background making all this happen. So really want to shout him out and shout out all the work that they're doing. And if you want to see some brilliance, click the link and go.
Click the link.
Right. And just highlighting some of the things that we're going to have tomorrow when we hit the conference tomorrow. We're starting off with yoga. Keerson?
Yes. Do you see my yoga mat in the back?
Oh, you ready?
I'm a yogi. I love yoga.
Love it. We got some great things. We're going to start with yoga, ending, with a comedy show. And so really excited about that. But right now, we need y'all to click the link. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Join us tomorrow morning, first thing, 8:30 in the morning, 8:15, 8:30 in the morning. We're gonna get this party rocking. We got lots of information to go to come at you. We also have some. We're starting the day with yoga, ending the day with some comedy. Y'all, that shit is funny. And so join that. Stay with us throughout the day and enjoy. But click the link, and we'll see you in a little bit for the premiere of Detangling the Sound.
Bye, everybody. Have a good night.